FM 94, The Dark, Jay-Z here, and it's that time again. It's a time to talk to a band, but we know this band pretty well because we've had a chance to talk to them the past couple of years. In fact, about five years ago or so, I talked to the founder, one of the founders of the band, Jason Null, and that's who I have on the line right now, of Saving Abel. And then last year we talked to Scotty Austin, the new lead singer of the band. Reason why we're talking with Jason today is because Halfway Jam's around the corner. Saving Abel is going to be there this Saturday night. Everybody around here is looking forward to that. And Jason, first of all, thanks for joining me today, and just kind of want to get an update a little bit about things in your life and how they're going. And how are you doing, Jason?
I'm doing good, man. We just talked a minute. You know, I'm waking up here, so forgive me if I'm a little foggy with things. But things are good, man. I just had a little baby girl. I think a lot of the fans have been following that on our Facebook page and things of that nature. And other than that, you know, we've got that new record together. We just shot a video for it 2 days ago here in Indiana, where I'm at right now. And we're in pre-production, working up a new set, too. We're going to have some new songs to play for you guys, too.
Looking forward.
But other than that, we're looking forward to getting up y'all's way and starting this next leg of the tour.
Yeah, we're looking forward to have you come up here. Let's go right to the base. Let's go right to the heat right away. Baby girl, brand new baby girl. How's that going for you so far?
Well, I mean, I'm already, as they say, wrapped around her little finger. Now, you know, I've got two boys. I've got one that's 14. I got one that's 4. And I thought when we decided to have another child, my wife and I thought I had things pretty well under control. I knew what to do because that's 18 years of experience of raising kids, 14 years with one and 4 years with the other. But lo and behold, it was a little girl. And so I guess I'm pretty much starting over, you know. But I'm, you know, in all seriousness, though, I'm really, really proud to have a little baby girl. We named her after my grandmother, which was very loved in the family. Her name was Exie, E-X-I-E, and of course that made a lot of people happy in the family, and a lot of tears came to eyes and stuff like that. And it's just great to be able to do something like that and remember somebody that had a lot to do in everybody's lives you love, and then have a new soul come into the life that you know that can help carry that on, and it's just it's an amazing feeling to have.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it's got to be tough. You know, obviously everybody has different kinds of jobs in their life. A lot of people, though, they have the 9-to-5 job and they can come home every day to their kids. But unfortunately, a guy like you that's out on tour sometimes, you don't get to see family all the time, do you?
No, I don't. And that is one of the downfalls of the nature of the business. But, you know, we make it up here and there. I'm home, you know, when I am home, you know, I may not be there for 4 or 5 days in between breaks on a tour, but when I do go home, you know, I can get a couple of months here and there. And it's really, you know, in the holidays, Christmas, it's really important. And at times like that, that's things you can never get back. So I've tried to make it in for all of that stuff. And that makes a world of difference in the kids' eyes, too. And they may not always understand it. You know, my first one, I could tell, you know, by telling him I was going to be gone, not at home the way I used to be. And you can kind of see that in his eyes. But he's a little older now, and he appreciates the fact that that if he needs something, he can come to Dad, and Dad can usually figure out a way to get what it is he needs. And you know, and I appreciate the fact that I don't have to go pawn a guitar to get it. So I think it's all working out for everybody.
Absolutely. Well, the one nice thing, too, now with social media, and for that matter, you can FaceTime people. You don't have as much distance maybe as you did 10, 15 years ago.
No, it makes it a lot easier, too. Like, you know, and it's sad, but, you know, I there was a time, you know, when I was just out of high school and I could be walking through a Walmart or something and see somebody, and I would have the intentions to call them by their name and ask them how they were doing, and it would just come out as, hey man, how are you? You know, because I would forget. But, you know, with Facebook, I'm seeing faces that I haven't seen in 20 years, and I've got a name with it. I can look at them, see how they're doing, say hi to them without ever leaving the couch. And, you know, some people, you know, are against that kind of thing. But when you look at the grand scheme of it, I love everything. So I'm glad we have the technology and stuff that we have these days.
Yeah, we do.
It makes it easier to stay in. Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to stay in touch.
It absolutely does. In fact, we've been corresponding every so often here by text and over the last 5 years. And let's talk about the band Saving Abel a little bit more. And obviously, the last time I talked to you, you guys were singing, you know, with your former lead singer Jared Weeks, and then obviously there was a change there. Jared decided to go solo. You guys decided then to find a new singer. You picked up Scotty Austin. I had a chance to talk to Scotty, but I guess I never got a chance to talk to you about the change from the original singer to the new singer. How has that been going overall? And obviously I know you and Jared were kind of the founding members of Saving Abel.
That was hard for all of us to do. I'm sure it was hard for Jared to do also. One thing you have to look at, though, is when you do something like that, it is hard. If you break up with a girl that you've been with for a long time, it's hard. Anything like that is hard. But here's the thing: I know Jared is happy right now. We're doing good and we're happy. Jared and I are both still alive. We're a phone call away, and we do speak, so that makes that a lot easier. And Jared, Jared wanted to be home. Jared was really tired and more so than I was. So I'm glad he did what he needed to do, and I'm glad he was man enough to do it without dragging it out and destroying the band as it was. It's Scotty coming in. He's just like us anyway. He's from the same area, the same neck of the woods we are. Excuse me, man. And he made it real easy. He got the flack. Everybody gets the flack. You're not a good singer. You're not as good as Jared, this, that, and the other. But he stood strong, and I think, we beat the stigma of being the band that went through a lineup change that couldn't make it. We toured more than anybody in the world last year, 300 and some odd shows, and that is a lot of shows. And they weren't free shows. We did get paid for them. So, we worked hard for the past 2 years, and it's paying off. We've got building a brand new team as far as management goes. We're running our own label right now. So everything's looking really good for us. And, I need to mention Stephen Pooley, the guy that came in and filled in on drums. Because when Jared left, our acting drummer at the time, Michael McManus, decided to stay and pursue other interests too. And, you can find drummers. It's not, it's not as hard as replacing your lead singer, but it is hard to find one that actually fills the pocket like Stephen has done. And I'd like to, just point that out too. The combination of both of those guys coming in at the same time, it made it easier on us, and it gave us the drive to be like, hey, this is not over. We can keep doing this and put out a record. And we can't make people like the music, but as long as we're liking it, we can keep doing it. So, and that's what we've done. And hopefully everybody, is going to catch on to the new single that's coming out, 15 Minutes of Fame, and the new video will be out shortly. So maybe everybody will catch on to that like they did Sex is Good and Addicted and things like that. And maybe the crowds just keep getting bigger again like they were once.
It's funny. I went back today to listen to the interview you and I did back about 5 years ago. And when I did that interview, you had just found out that Sex is Good went #1. That's how long it's been already, Jason. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Yes, it is crazy. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. Everything that's happened with us literally seems like, and only because I know so much has happened does it seem like it's been a couple years. If so many things hadn't happened, like a lineup change and babies being born and pictures of them, seeing Jared's kids growing up, it would seem like a year ago. So, yeah, it's crazy how time does fly, especially in my situation, in the profession I've chosen.
We're talking with Jason Null of Saving Abel. Saving Abel coming to Halfway Jam Saturday night, just south of here, about 15 miles. Should be a lot of screaming fans there. And I know you guys were really excited here to playing on a tour with Buck Cherry, but Josh Todd, unfortunately, had some throat issues, and the doctor ordered him to take a little break. Did that change some of your plans for touring here to start off with this new tour?
Very minimal. I think a lot of the promoters that we were working with found us a home in each city, and I think we're still going to be in most of the. I think we're still going to be in most of the original cities on the original dates that we had planned to be out with Buck Cherry. But the good news is that tour will happen. It's just going to be pushed back about a month. So we will meet up with those guys at some point, and the dates will be announced, and that package will be out there for everybody that was wanting to see the two bands together.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of fans that were really looking forward to the whole package, but still a great lineup that night. We're going to start off with Filter, then it's you guys, and then they were able to bring in Skillet afterwards. I have not seen Skillet before. I don't know if you've ever seen them before.
You know, I've never seen them play. I've been at several festivals, and I've had the chance to hear them and hear the crowd reactions. And I think anybody that sees them and hears the band will be pleased with them also. It's a great band, and I know for a fact that they're a great bunch of people because they used to work with our producer, Skid Mills, out of Memphis, Tennessee, and Nashville, Tennessee area. So I think it'll be fun for everybody. And I have seen Filter before, and those guys are good.
Hey, let's talk about the album Bloodstained Revolution. You've got a couple of songs that you've already released out there, obviously the title cut, and then Love Like Suicide, and now you just mentioned 15 Minutes of Fame here. Pretty soon you're going to do a radio push. You made a video for it, all that stuff. Talk about that album and even talk about this current song.
That album it's Scotty and I have talked about that. We actually are living that album right now. The songs that we wrote on it and the things that we've paid attention to, it's kind of odd. I've never done that before. You know, I've wrote songs about a girl that I broke up with 10 years ago and things like that, you know. And, of course, the songs, you know, like Addicted, Sex is Good, you know, pretty easy to come by when you think about it. But, you know, Bloodstained Revolution, the title track, which was our first single off of that record, Scotty come up to me and had a line, and he sat down with a guitar and he just kept humming things until he come up with something. And I was like, "That's good." And he just kept on it. It got in my head, but the line was, "You can blame it on the Illuminati." And me being a 32nd degree Mason, became very intrigued with that because in all my research, you know, the Illuminati had died out just about as quickly as it got started. But I went online to find that there's a new interest in the Illuminati and things of that nature. And I don't know if you know anything about me or not, but I love History Channel stuff, Discovery Channel stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, I watch Finding Bigfoot, things like that. I like to think that there's a Bigfoot out there. It gives me something to look forward to, you know. But I got into that stuff, you know. And that song, if you listen to that song, we were writing that song about things that a lot of people are talking about these days, and we didn't even know what we were writing about at that time. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. 15 Minutes of Fame, you know, started out about a close friend of mine, and then as we're going through it, we're seeing how we have lived it and came out of it alive. I just think it's a great record. There's a song on there called Memphis, which I'd originally started about a guy that was like a brother with me who committed suicide 7 or 8 years ago. And if you listen to that song, it just explains, you know, how we have been trying to get back to Memphis since we left the Memphis area. You know, us being from Corinth, Mississippi, you know, Memphis is a second home to us. So that record to me is one, and I know everybody says this, and we've said it before, but it is one of the most heartfelt records that I've ever done. And I think that's because I actually sat down and wrote songs from the heart, instead of taking bits and pieces of things and other people's input, record labels saying, well, you should change this, you should do that. Mm-hmm. This had no other influence, any other outside influence than myself and the band. So I'm really proud of this record.
That's very cool. And obviously, you know, you've done a lot of independent stuff as of late, and I think in a way that gets you to be back to your true roots of who you are, rather than having to answer to some corporate guy saying, well, this is what I should or you should do. Am I right on that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's not that people don't have good ideas. It's just like this to me. If I'm cooking something, somebody might come in and stick their finger in and say it needs another pinch of salt in it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I may have just tasted it and thought it was perfect.
Right.
You throw that other pinch of salt in there, and then when the entree is done at the end of the day, nobody really knows you threw that other pinch of salt in there, but you and the person who told you to do it.
Right.
And then I'm sitting there thinking, thank you. You know, if it was good and they say thank you, I enjoyed the meal. It's all fine and dandy, but in the back of my mind, I know that somebody else was in there doing it. And for me to get that kind of enjoyment, I like to know that it's something that I created myself. And when I say that, I mean, you know, with my people in my circle there, you know, my band, you know, that's what matters to me, you know.
Right.
And that's kind of the way I look at that. You know, it's at the end of the day, we know that we did everything ourselves.
We're talking with Jason Null from Saving Abel. They're coming up to Halfway Jam Saturday night. They're going to be rocking there. We'll talk about that in just a moment again. But I've never really picked your brain on these questions, so I'm going to pass along these. I kind of started doing this a few years ago, so when I interviewed you before, I didn't have these questions put together. But first of all, current bands in active rock that you're really liking right now? Who do you like out there right now in the current active rock scene?
I'll have to say the one band that I'm paying attention to is Devour the Day.
Okay.
And that's just because they're hometown guys. You know, a lot of them are from Memphis, Tennessee. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that used to be Egypt Central.
It was,
those guys, right?
Yep, it was Egypt Central. Yep, you're correct.
Yeah, so, I still pay attention to those guys. And to be honest with you, I'm just coming out of an album cycle. So, about 6 months prior to going into that and then following out, all I do is listen to our record. So,
right.
So I'm going on about a good year without really, really checking in the radio because, like I say, when I know that it's getting time to prep for the record, I'll go in and I'll listen to everything. I'll spend days making sure that I haven't written a song that sounds like anybody else. And then, and then the cycle itself, as in going in and recording it, I just shut down from all other music and I concentrate solely on my own. So, to be honest with you, I just haven't listened to that much music.
Yeah, that's okay.
I still have my go-to stuff, I still like to put in some Johnny Cash for bedtime music. And if I'm working out, or anything like that, I still have, and let me say this, Full Devil Jacket, I still have that original record in my workout sessions on my iPod, but they have a new record out called Valley of the Bones.
Yep.
That I've really tuned into lately too, and those guys are good friends of mine again. And but I can say this honestly, I was a huge fan of Full Devil Jacket long before I ever met Jonathan Montoya or Josh Brown or any of the guys from the band, and had any inkling that I would be a professional musician. So if you like good hard rock, go check out all of their records.
Yeah.
Full Devil Jacket.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We talked to Josh about a year and a half ago, and we had actually, your name came up because you guys, I believe, at one point were looking at maybe doing some kind of a project together, weren't you?
Yeah, he and I and Jonathan Montoya from, which Jonathan's with Saliva. He was originally in Full Devil Jacket, but we put together a 5-song EP with, and we called it A New Rebel. Mm-hmm. And it was basically me and the old Full Devil Jacket, minus their guitar player who had recently passed away, Mike Reeves, God rest his soul. A great human being and great guitarist, a big influence in my life. But yeah, we put that together, and talking about things going by so fast, that's been over 3 years ago, and that seems like that was last week, in the studio. But yeah, it's called A New Rebel, and it is available on iTunes if anybody wants to check that out. And of course, I might be biased also, but in my opinion, that's one of the best heavy rock / metal records that I've heard in a while.
Very cool. All right, this is the question that I always get intrigued by the answer from the person I'm interviewing. We're talking with the Jason Null, founding member of Saving Abel. They're coming up to Halfway Jam this weekend. What artist would you like to cover one of your songs?
Oh, if somebody's going to cover a song, they've got to be able to do something completely different with it, yet keep it the same.
Yep.
And there again, I know Johnny Cash has passed away, but he did such a great job with that. He did a 9 Inch Nails song. He did the song called 13, which is a great version. He did Rusty Cage by Soundgarden, which I just love to death. It's just a rockabilly rock song, but he kept it where you can know what the song is and just made it, I wouldn't say better, but I went and bought it because of that. I saw that live on David Letterman one night, I think it was. So I went and bought that record, those American Recording Records with that on there. So that would be my first choice. And then, I could see Prince.
There you go.
Like Sex is Good.
Ah.
That
would be awesome.
I could see somebody like that. And then, I don't know, we've got a couple songs that people have never heard, but somebody like Five Finger Death Punch could actually just take and make what it should be, because I have so many influences you can hear the metal in some songs. You can definitely hear the country in some songs. And we have one called Never that was on the Saw 3D soundtrack that I just love. But to be honest with you, I don't think we did the song justice, because I heard that as being a band like Five Finger Death Punch would probably write the song and have recorded it.
Right. Well, maybe we can get Prince to come on over to Halfway Jam this weekend, and he can check out "Sex Is Good," and then he can remake it and make it his own, huh?
Hey, every time I'm there, I hang out by that famous venue down there where he cut the Purple Rain.
First Avenue.
Yeah, there you go.
First Avenue.
But yeah, I've never saw him. I've seen a couple of people in purple walk in there, but it wasn't Prince.
He's out in Paisley Park in his own shack way out in Chanhassen, Minnesota, which is about a half an hour from First Avenue. That's where he kind of hangs out. So
I may have to go redneck and get me some camouflage and just see, can I get a picture of me somewhere.
I'll join you with that. That'd be kind of fun. But I would love to see, and I've talked to many other bands about that question. I'd love to see some of these pop artists and that actually do some rock songs and cover that, rather than the other way around, the rock guys covering the pop songs. It'd be very unique and very interesting.
Well, a lot of times what you're seeing happen is a rock act trying to get that familiar sound to get into the people's minds, and that's what you have. You have them taking a huge song, and in the pop arena, they really don't need that, because they've already been there.
Right.
But I'm with you on that. Yeah, it would be great to see, because Prince. Talking about Prince, I think he's one of probably the better guitar players I've ever heard recorded. I've never been able to see him live, but I saw Eddie Van Halen play live, and I can tell you everything that I heard was coming out of his guitar. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing I think happens with Prince. I think he actually plays everything, and I think his ability to write songs. I don't know if this is true, but I also heard one time that he has rooms filled with sheets of music all over, just of stuff he's never even recorded. So that would be an awesome brain to pick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I would like to hear a couple people like that. With that kind of reputation, do some just good rock songs and see what they turn them into.
What you think something like that would actually help the rock scene? I don't know. You hear the Gene Simmons thing, "Rock is dead," but then you hear the kickback from everybody saying, "Well, rock is alive," because we got Rock on the Range that had 70,000 people there. So how can you say rock is dead, kind of thing? Would that help?
Well, Gene was a classic foot and mouth situation.
Right.
What he said, I don't think is what people took it to mean. When he said rock is dead, he's not lying, because the industry has done everything that they can to kill rock and roll in the past 20 years. And I think what he meant by that, I think he meant the industrial rock and roll. If you could look at it as the industrial war machine, the industrial rock machine. I think. If it's not dead, it is dying, because people are going out and they're still getting record deals as a rock artist. But right. It's not like your Katy Perry's and Christina Aguilera's and who else might be doing what they do these days. And the reasons for that are unknown. I don't know. Maybe just by rebellious nature, most rock and roll artists won't conform and do exactly what they're told. But I think that's what Gene meant by that. But no, rock and roll is not dead, because you just said, Rock on the Range is testament to that. And I can tell you, we're testament to that too. We played, like I said, over 300 shows last year alone. And no, we didn't have huge crowds everywhere we went. And the small venues we were in were not always sold out, but there were people there and they were enjoying the music and having a good time. And that's what it's always been about. For me, when I first started listening to music, was a mother and older brother and aunts and uncles, people listen to different music, but the rock and roll is what always made my foot move and made me want to get up and dance a jig, So, I don't think rock and roll is dead. And there again, I think Gene was probably just misunderstood when he said that, but in a lot of ways, he was correct.
Well, and I agree with that. And I talked with Rick DeJesus of Adelitas Way, and he's huge against Cumulus Radio and stuff like that, because we had this discussion about radio has sometimes killed rock, because there's less and less radio stations like ourselves that are playing you, so it's harder for you to get discovered, put out there, and actually have a hit, because the corporate minds are saying, well, the pop is what everybody wants to hear, not the rock.
Yeah, and that's what they are doing. And history repeats itself, though. I've got faith that rock and roll will be back. But, and not to get too political or analytical about anything, but there's going to have to be a happy medium between the world's people that can have their outlet of say on what it is they want to hear, because I just can't imagine we are the same bunch of people that grew up in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s that are growing up now. There's nothing really happened to the human race that have changed that much. So,
right.
And you just put that stuff in their face, and they have no choice but to like it. It's just there. It's the only thing they know, and then you got things like the internet, which I think becomes a double-edged sword, because you go in and search for Saving Abel, and it might say, well, so-and-so also bought this, and you look down, and whereas it used to be, they also bought a Saving Abel record, a Hinder record, and a Nickelback record, and a Three Doors Down record. Now they're throwing it in. They also bought this, and then you'll see things, like the Katy. I keep using her because she's the most relevant person I can think of right now.
Right.
You'll see all these pop artists show up and things like that, and that just doesn't seem normal to me. I just don't know if that's not something that they're able to do, instead of letting the machines themselves tell us, the computers themselves tell us the truth. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of misdirection with what's going on. But yeah, like I said, I think history repeats itself, and I think we're going to be okay. When I say we, I mean us at Stillwell Guitars for a living.
Absolutely. Jason Null, Saving Abel, they're coming to Halfway Jam. All right, let's talk about Halfway Jam coming up on Saturday night. You're going to be performing out there. What should the crowd expect? We got any new tricks up our sleeve? Any new songs coming out on that? What's going to happen out there?
Yeah, man, we're in the works of right now. We're in pre-production. I'm headed over there in about 30 minutes to start working up some completely new tunes, a completely new set. And with being on the road like we have been, I felt bad for the fans, because I've seen fans' faces throughout that past year many, many times, and they had to watch the same songs and the same set happen, the same show happen. So starting with this show you're talking about, we'll have a whole new set together, throwing in some different songs. We're going to do a couple of little cover songs here and there, just for fun. We used to do Highway to Hell, and we'd have the crowd, just as many people as we can get on stage, and just kind of share that experience with everybody,
right.
What it's like to be up there, how different it sounds, and just to have some fun. And we had a great response in doing that. So, that's probably a couple of the cover tunes that we'll replace Highway to Hell with and do that with. Just gonna try to have fun with it, man. I think everybody's gonna really like it, because we do have some brand new songs that I know nobody's ever heard, and that's always exciting for us to change it up too. So we're looking forward to that. And we will be performing 15 Minutes of Fame also.
Awesome. And we're going to give you the best weather possible up here too. Does that sound good? Outdoor concert, great weather, and a lot of people. That's a perfect night, isn't it?
I'm going to hold you to that.
Oh, boy. I'll start praying now.
I think we carry, if it can be bad weather, if we get within 100 miles of it, I think it just gets behind our bus and follows us in. So, yeah.
Actually, right now,
even though it may be our fault, I'm going to blame it on you if it rains.
Okay. Well, right now it's looking no rain actually on Saturday at all. Low 80s for a high, and at night, probably when you're playing, around 62, 65 degrees. So it should be perfect.
That's perfect.
All
yes,
right.
sir, it is.
Hey,
It'll be a great time, man.
I'm
looking forward to it.
It will be a great time. Hey, a lot of fun talking with you, and we'll get a chance to see you out there, too. You got any last things you want to say to the listeners out there before they do come out on Saturday?
Oh, man, I just always thank you for supporting us. It's as we spoke earlier, it's not about the money these days, that's for sure. We get to do what we love to do for a living, and that's a blessing in itself. I would like to say I'm actually going on 3 weeks without a cigarette, so kids, don't start smoking. It is the worst thing I've ever did to try to stop doing it. I'm a pretty strong-willed man, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, say a prayer for me on that end too, because I'm doing good with that cigarette.
Awesome. We'll make sure of that. Thanks a lot, Jason. Once again.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Hey, once again, that is Jason Null. He's the founder of Saving Abel. Don't forget, they're going to be out at Halfway Jam coming up.